Hello everyone, in this video we are going to learn how to build gas stations according to best practices and industry standards. Before we begin, I want to let you know that I spend hours and hours in front of my computer creating the illustrations for my videos. A simple click on the like and subscribe buttons would mean a lot to me, and I would consider it as a huge thank you. Modern gas stations offer easy self-service. Customers or users can easily fill their car tanks with the necessary amount of diesel fuel in a smooth and convenient way. But to achieve this, there is a whole complex engineering process behind it. How do we build gas stations step by step? That's what we are going to see next. I will start with a schematic illustration, a drawing if you want. I will begin by showing you the site where a future gas station will be built. Of course, we will never start with the construction on the ground. However, we do begin with the tanks and diesel reservoirs that will be located underground. To do this, it is absolutely necessary to carry out excavations to reach the depth where we will install our tanks or reservoirs. The very first question that arises regarding this excavation is its stability. It should be noted that the depths we are working with are generally over 3 meters. Therefore, it is quite wise to consider the stability of the embankments. Ideally, we want to ensure vertical embankments, meaning an angle of inclination equal to 0. However, if the embankments are not stable, it is absolutely necessary to incline them as a first step and ensure an embankment with a minimum angle of 2 meters horizontally and 3 meters vertically. That is to say, for every 2 meters of horizontal movement, a 3-meter height adjustment is required. As a percentage, this will be approximately 66.6%. The second solution involves using temporary support structures, the most common of which for excavating tanks is metal planks or metal sheet piles. Of course, I am talking about temporary support that will be retrieved later. Once we have finalized the slope stability study, it's time to first create a base in the form of a general foundation slab, which will be formed for the tank's foundation. We cannot simply place such a heavy structure directly into the ground without creating a platform to distribute its load over a large area. The material used to construct the diesel fuel tanks must be carefully chosen. This is simply because there is a risk that the soil surrounding the tank contains traces of water or is already damp. As a result, they will act on the surface of the tank, contaminating it and gradually wearing it down until leaks occur from the tank into the surrounding ground. Galvanized steel was used in the past for this purpose, but over time it has become clear that it doesn't last long, and after a few years it begins to wear and rust. Currently, fiberglass is used to construct such tanks, and galvanized steel has been eliminated. Why? Because fiberglass is more durable. It is also strong and resistant to the lateral forces exerted by the ground when the tank is empty. Furthermore, the tank's cylindrical shape allows for better distribution of the lateral loads applied to its walls. Once the tank is in place, the necessary piping must be installed to connect its openings to the platform surface. Subsequently, heavy machinery is used to fill or backfill the voids created. The material used for this backfilling must contain more than 80% sand. Why exactly sand? Simply because it's self-placing and it is self-compacting. It's not necessary to compact every 30 centimeters or so because the sand settles itself, offering optimal compaction capacity. Towards the end, a single compaction stage with safe back and forth movements is optional. And it is done simply to ensure a perfectly horizontal surface for the screed or platform. Once this is done, we proceed directly to installing the platform structure on which the various vehicles will circulate. It generally consists of a foundation layer, a base layer, and the surface wearing course. You have to note that the buildings that will be constructed later are generally not built on the site where we carried out the excavation and backfilling. We move as far away as possible from the site because it is only backfilled. Here is an illustration that shows this in more detail. As you can see here, tanks or vessels are installed here, while the buildings or the panel or elsewhere are installed away and founded on a different formation. Now we move on to another delicate step, which is filling the tank with tanker trucks. Normally the filling process is quite simple. There are pipelines connecting the surface to the tanks, so the filling proceeds normally. However, it is important to note that the air in the tank contains an explosive gas. Therefore, the more diesel fuel is added to saturate the tank, the more of this flammable gas is generated. And of course, with a small electrical spark, you can imagine what would happen. To solve this problem, the exhaust gas pipeline must be connected to the tanker truck. This gas must be condensed and then cooled to return to a liquid state without posing any danger. In this situation, the tank can be filled to a fairly high degree of saturation without fear of the gases generated inside. This is how we build a gas station, and this is how we operate it. Thanks for watching.